And if we can have like a small introduction to our viewers who'll be watching this.
Sure. Yeah, so my name's Michelle Lizet Flores. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, and I'm an author, I'm a teacher, and content creator. Yeah, I write poetry. That's my main mode of writing, but I've started getting into children's literature, which is really exciting. And I've recently started getting into the like YouTube, Instagram, Bookstagram kind of game. So that's like a new thing, like my pandemic hobby that I picked up. And it's been really fun. So
I've seen a couple of your posts. I want to read some of the books you have listed there so far. I'm excited.
Yay!
And so how is that like transition from like poetry to children's book? Because like I know there's a big difference, but for a lot of our viewers, they probably don't think it's a giant difference.
So like the thing with poetry is that you focus so much on emotions and using imagery to convey those emotions. But books like novels and picture books need to have a plot. It's in some ways it's more mechanical, I think, than writing a poem. There's a lot of mechanics that go into writing a poem, but the mechanics are based in imagery and sound devices and figurative language, and your focus is more, I want the reader to feel something. But in a story, it's like, this has to have some kind of logical plot that needs to happen. And yeah, you want people to feel something, but the way I would get a reader to feel something in a poem is really different from a book, because they have to be able to connect with the characters, and the plot needs to have some kind of basis in like a logical structure. Even if it's, you know, a really out there kind of plot, there needs to be some clear, you know, like I was saying, logic with it. So it's just a new muscle. I'm also in the process of writing a young adult novel, and that has been the most challenging thing. It's just, my brain is like, I'm at, I think, like 40,000 words with it, and I'm just like, I don't know how to keep going with this one thing when I'm used to writing a poem that's tops 3 pages. So
I understand. I went to college for creative writing, so
oh, nice.
Yeah, I understand the thing. I've tried poetry, I've tried other things, and I'm like, how do people novel at all?
I know, it's crazy.
And can you tell us anything about that new book that you're coming out with soon?
So, okay, so this is so funny. I actually got this in the mail today. This is my very first picture book. It's called Carlito the Bat Learns to Trick or Treat. And this is actually my son. All of my children's books are based or will be based on my own children. That's like my goal, because I don't think representation is everything, but I also know that Black kids and Latinx kids don't get representation in children's books. There's more of it now, but it's still like not anywhere where it needs to be. So that's just something I've committed to, is all of my books will feature kids who look like my own kids and families that look like my family. And so this book in particular is about the first time we went trick-or-treating as like a whole family, and what that experience was like. Because my son is a little bit timid, and he kind of struggled with it at first.
Aw. Thank you. And I love the idea of like adding some representation out there. I know when I was a kid, I didn't get a lot. I didn't realize until college that I'm like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen a Hispanic main character in any of the books I've read.
Yep.
And it didn't occur to me until well into college. So I was like, I want that. I want someone who looks like me in these books, and I don't have that. So I think that's the amazing thing you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, the novel I'm working on, I don't want to say too much about it, but I will say it is a fairy tale retelling with a Cuban twist, because my family's from Cuba, so going for that very much like Caribbean fairy tale kind of vibe.
Oh, I love that. I was gonna ask like if you did base a good amount of your Latin roots like within it, like your Cuban roots within your stories, and you answered that for me. And if you enjoy like doing that, like mixing in like that type of culture into your stories?
Oh, for sure. I just feel like, I don't know, I came in this weird transitional time with my writing where it was just before I think there was this sort of explosion of Latinx literature being published. And I just always remember that being the center of my work and not feeling like there was ever really a place for it. And now I feel like more and more it's becoming very much accepted and very much common to see people really infusing their roots in their work. You know, being from Miami, I would write poems about, sorry, my dog's walking by. But I would write poems about chongas, which are like our version of cholas. And I would write poems about papichulos and my abuela, who would, you know, cut down, you know, bushes with a machete. Like all that kind of stuff has always been super present in my work. And in the children's literature, it's really fun because I like seeing, you know, even with my husband's culture, he's Black American, and like the fusing of our two cultures, kind of putting that together is it's really fun.
Oh, okay. So you guys are, so you're doing a combination where like you're infusing both sides. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think there's even less of like biracial stories out there too. And
Yeah.
any like future goals you would like to go with your writing?
So like I have a full-length poetry manuscript that I just finished this summer, and I'm working on getting that published. I have one chapbook that's already been published. Okay, Roxy. She's like, there's cats, I gotta protect the house. But yeah, I have one chapbook that's already published, and I won a contest to get another chapbook published. So I feel like if I could get my first full-length poetry collection, I'll be like poet with a capital P. And then if I could get my novel picked up by like, not a big 5 publisher, but just like a major publisher, like dream publisher would be Scholastic or Torteen or one of those kind of publishers. Like I would freak out and I would just be like, all right, I'm done. I did it.
Those are
accomplished the things. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to say that too, like for school and stuff. I'll be like, if I got with one of those guys, I'm good. I'm golden. I'm accomplished.
Yep. So yeah, those would be like major goals. And then, you know, just in general, if I can just make it so that I'm consistently putting out some kind of work over the years, that'd be great.
That's really awesome. And like, can you explain to us like how your writing process goes?
Yeah. Process. It's kind of like a hot mess most of the time. I go through phases, I've noticed, like very cyclical phases where I'll have a few months of just extreme productivity where usually in the beginning of a year actually, where it's like I work on my poetry, I've got my stories going, and then I take a few months off where I edit. And I will just read things over and over, or I'll put something away for 3 months and not look at it again for another 3 months. And then kind of take the time to go through it and edit it. And while I'm doing that, I've started reading more craft books because I feel like I'm just so out of practice with craft of writing. So this summer I read a poetry craft book. I'm about to start a fiction craft book because that's a very different beast. Yes. And then I'll probably restart the cycle in the probably winter. Yeah, I feel like I'm really productive in winter and spring, and then summer and fall is more like, all right, chill out, let's edit some things, let's let it simmer, and then start it over again.
And who are your like writer inspirations? Like, do you have any favorite authors or favorite books that you like to like reference, or like at least say that they obviously like have inspired you in your own writings?
For sure, Elizabeth Acevedo is like, she's goals for me. You know, she has like a similar route to me in that she got her MFA, was a teacher for a few years, had a poetry book come out, and then had all these ideas for young adult novels. And like, I think at one interview I heard, she said that she decided to quit her job and just put all of her energy into the books, and then it paid off in a huge way for her. So like just that moxie that she had to like believe in herself that much to do something like that. And the stories she writes are incredible. Like, I read The Poet X and I sobbed because it was the first time I felt like I'd actually seen a kid in a book who reminded me of myself. And other poets that I really admire are Alan Pelaez Lopez, who they are a non-binary Afro-Indigenous poet, and they just, their ability to infuse poetry and politics in a way that is not didactic is really impressive. Like, I think a lot of times political poems can just be like, okay, we get it, we heard you. But they're just so tender. It's like a radical tenderness that they have, and I really admire that. Yeah, and then just like Jessica Salgado's another poet that I really love. Ariana Brown. Most of my inspiration is definitely poets. In terms of young adult, I really love Zoraida Cordova. I just read Incendiary, and I think her world building is really cool. And in this Hollow Crown series that she's working on, there's so many references to Latin American and Hispanic culture, but she doesn't ever explain it. And I love that. It's so refreshing to read a book where it's like, oh, I know what this is, and nobody's explaining it to me because I'm already, it's like I don't know, I guess that's what it feels like if you're like a white person reading something and nothing's being explained to you. I don't know. Oh, sorry, that's my daughter running by.
No, I get it. Like, sometimes I'll like see TV and be like, oh, this is like a Cuban American family or like a Hispanic American family, and they'll over explain it being like, oh, well, you know, we're Hispanic, this is why we do that. And I'm just like, why are you explaining that? I don't think I know that many Hispanics who are that self-aware.
Right. Right, exactly. So yeah. I'm trying to think. I feel like that's the main ones. Yeah, so that's.
And I have to ask, you have to give me like top 3 recommendations for like us book lovers out there. We gotta know, like, some.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I am in the middle of a slow read. I'm a booktuber now, so I follow this other booktuber named Onyx Pages, and she is hosting an Octavia Butler slow readathon where for the next 2 years we're going to try and read all of Octavia Butler's books. I started Kindred this week, and this book is amazing. So
I love that book.
Oh my God, I'm freaking out. Like, I just forgot that this is what good science fiction could be.
Oh my God. That was the first book I read in like when I was starting college, because there was like a whole debate, like, is this historical fiction or is this sci-fi? And I'm like, sci-fi, like, this is sci-fi, it's time travel. Yeah. It's sci-fi. I love that book so much. And I think another good book, if you haven't read it, is Beloved.
Yes.
I love that book. It's so beautifully written.
It's so funny you bring up Beloved because I read that. It was actually a required reading book in high school, which normally that's like a death sentence for a book. But I read that book and I literally, 17-year-old Michelle was like, what the fuck? We're allowed to write like this? Like, this is allowed? Yes. And it was the first time in a meta sense I understood what writing was. And since then, Toni Morrison has just been huge inspiration for me.
She is a very writer. Yeah. And what are some other recommendations? Mine is like the first, right off the bat, best recommendation, Kindred. Please read.
I just finished this book here. So, All My Mermaid Lovers, A Song Below the Water. This is a YA contemporary / fantasy book about sirens and gargoyles and all kinds of really cool stuff in the world of like Portland, ironically, going through a huge moment of like social justice and protesting and talking about Black Lives Matter in combination with there being sirens in society who are not accepted. So I just finished this and I thought it was really fun, really great read. There is another book that I read called The Deep by River Solomon. And that's another mermaid book. I'm obsessed with mermaids as well. So, but that is a book about basically people who were being transported during the Middle Passage, and the pregnant people who were either thrown overboard or threw themselves overboard, becoming creatures who could live underwater. It is just like such a heavy topic, but done so beautifully, and is a lot about memory and what it means to have a history as a community and as an individual.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And, you use the term like booktuber, like a book YouTuber.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. Sadly, I feel like I just discovered something and I should know more about it. Like, I've never heard of a booktuber before. So is it like people like reviewing books, or like, so like, let's go into that. Like, because you are also a booktuber, as you stated.
Mm-hmm. Girl, it's so nerdy. So like, it's people on YouTube who review books and talk about books, and will do book hauls, and will like do skits about the books that they're reading. There's Booktube Drama, which is the funniest thing because it's just a bunch of nerds arguing about like their analysis of a book. So
I've missed my calling.
Yeah, it's really fun. And yeah, I try to post videos every Wednesday and Sunday. But yeah, basically that's what I do. And I also do author stuff. So I have some videos where I break down how I write poems or how I read poems, and go through my editing process and all of that. So there's all kinds of stuff. YA fantasy tends to be the most popular genre because it's a lot of younger people on YouTube, but you can also find there's a small, tight little poetry community, but we're out there. And if you're more into like horror books, there's a lot of channels who feature that kind of stuff too. So it's very niche and it takes some digging, but you can definitely find a lot of really awesome people who are just making really great content about books.
Oh, that's so cool. And you should most definitely like mention like your user. So if any of our fans would like to see you, so please do.
Yeah, so I am Shelly Flowers Reads and Writes on YouTube. And yeah, like I said, I post videos every Wednesday and Sunday. And they're mostly about reading and writing, although sometimes I also talk about teaching, and you know, all the joy that comes with that.
You kind of seem like a superwoman over here. You got like teaching, you're writing like all these types of different books, got like book Instagram, book YouTube, and like a mom. Like you have all of this going. Like how
the secret is I'm not wearing pants right now, and and I just, you know, don't sleep sometimes, but it's fine.
That makes a lot of sense. And very much respect, honestly. And how is like, are like, as you said, like it's all kind of like a mess, kind of losing sleep, but is it, I don't want to say easy, but like what are the challenges of being like obviously like a full-time mom as well as being like a full-time everything?
So I first have to say my husband is amazing. Like he's with the kids right now in their room, making sure they don't come out here to bother me. And we very early in our relationship knew that this was going to be a partnership. I told him about a lot of the big dreams I had, and he's fully supportive, and he's got his own dreams too. So we know once we are able to shift around some things in our lives, like our goal is to be entrepreneurs and full-on creative kind of people. So that's one thing. Like you got to pick your partner right if you decide you want to be with someone, because I think it's impossible really to do creative anything if you don't have a good circle around you of people who are going to support you. The other thing is time management. Like I'm one of those crazy people who block schedules every moment of my day during the school year. Like I just can't function if I don't. And I basically make my to-do list every Sunday. I'll sit there with my weekly calendar and I block out, you know, X, Y, and Z needs to get done. I need to record this video this day, edit this video this other day, edit the descriptions another day, read 30 minutes a day, like grade X, Y, and Z assignments. you know?
That's
So it takes
college.
yeah. It's kind of like that. In the summer I chill out though, and winter break I chill out. Like I'm not that type A about it, but it just helps me because I am very much of a type A person. If I don't have clear steps and goals, then I kind of lose it. And then I also think you got to plan ahead enough to where when you need that mental break, you can take it.
I feel like a lot of people need to know that.
Yeah.
And do your kids know that you like write books? Like especially like your son that knows that you wrote a little book about him? Aww.
Yeah, it was so cute. Like when he came home today from school, I showed him the book and immediately he grabbed it and ran to the room and started reading it. So he's 6, so he's like just now at that awareness of like, oh, mommy writes books and she's a teacher. That's what she does. And yeah, my daughter, she's only 3, so she's not there yet, but she's getting there.
It's so cute. Like he just got excited. Like this is me. This is my book. I'm on it.
Yep.
And if anyone doubts me, like that's my mom's name.
Yep.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that though.
Thank
you.
you.
Wow, I lost my train of thought just now.
That's okay.
But so like you've mentioned that your husband's been extremely supportive about everything and that he helps out. He's even with the kids. I'm assuming your dog's very supportive. That's why she's running around enjoying this. And
oh yeah.
How about your students? Do they know that you're also like a writer or?
Mm-hmm. Some of them do. I haven't told my students this year yet, but last year when my chapbook came out, I told my kids and they were all like, oh my God. And they immediately started stalking me on like Amazon to try and find the book.
So what are the names of your chapbooks, just in case anyone wants to be like delve into their poetry side?
Yeah. So I have this chapbook here. It's called Cuentos from the Swamp. And it's all about growing up in South Florida. Basically from when I was a elementary school kid until late college. And then my other chapbook is called Memoria. It's not ready yet. It's on pre-order. But if you follow me on Instagram at ShellyFlowers, I've got a link tree. You can find all that kind of info. So.
And I think my favorite question ever when I'm learning about new writers are like, how did you get into writing?
I've just always done it. I can't think of a time in my life where I wasn't writing. I remember when I was like 8 or 9 years old and I got my first journal. It was do you remember Sanrio, like Hello Kitty and Bats Maru and all that stuff?
Yes.
It was one of those kind of journals. And I remember I was already writing. I think at first it was like little, just journaling and little poems to myself. And then I got into Harry Potter and started writing these fantasy stories. And then in high school, I was kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do for college. Nothing interests me except for reading. Like, I don't know. And then I found out you could be an English major. And I was like, bet, I'm going to go do that.
I love that.
Yeah. And then, every day in college, my dad would call me and be like, these law school applications, how you feeling about them? And I think for him, because he didn't go to college, so he was kind of like, I just want you to be okay. And like you being an English major does not sound like you're going to be financially okay. And, I just kind of had to be like, I get that, but this is also what I want to do. I want to be a writer. So this is the path that I want to be on to get there.
Yeah, I noticed that stigma mostly with Hispanic parents. Like my dad was just like, oh yeah, maybe you should do that as like a minor instead of like a major. And I want to ask like your personal opinion. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that that's like such a huge stigma, based off of your own opinion anyway?
I think personally, so it's weird because my mom's side of the family is actually really artistic, and my mom was a singer. My grandfather was a guitarist and a songwriter, and his father was also a poet and a guitarist, but they were still struggling to make ends meet, you know? So my mom worked as a secretary and then sang with her church. My grandfather was a barber by day and a guitarist by night, that kind of thing. And I just feel like that dream of being able to make it in an artistic way is just that. It's a dream a lot of time. It doesn't become tangible for so many people. And so when you kind of have that drive, it's scary because the people who make it 9 times out of 10, it's like a combination of hard work, consistency, but also luck. Like it just takes that one literary agent to see something that you wrote, or you send something to the right person who knows the right person to send your manuscript to. And it's just a lot of like luck and chance and grinding your gears in that way. And I think for my dad, he went through the revolution in Cuba. He saw how bad things can get and how scary things can get. And coming to America, he's like, I just know this is a place where no matter what, you can at least make a way. But you also have to be smart about the way that you do it. So I think for him, it's really just like a practicality thing of like, I want you to make sure that you have food on the table and health insurance and stuff like that. Like that was the big thing. When I first started teaching, I was a Teach for America Corps member, and I was ready to quit 2 months in. I was like, I can't do this at all. And he was like, you did not get a degree in creative writing for you to then turn down health insurance and a stable job and, you know, a way to pay your rent every month. You need to suck it up and get through these 2 years. And I was like, sir, you're right. I really can't argue with that.
Sound logic right there. And
yeah.
So you mentioned, like, as before, like, you're a superhero. You've done this, writing, teaching, all of this. And so you also mentioned, like, the social media content that you went through. Did you teach yourself how to do all that stuff? Or did you, like, learn by watching somebody else? Or, like, so you taught yourself all of the social media?
Yeah, I first learned about Booktube, I think in November of 2019. And I was just watching a bunch of videos and I was like, I think I can do this. And then the pandemic hit and I had all this extra time. So I was like, I'm just going to do it. My first videos suck. I still have them up on my channel because I think it's fun to look back and see someone's like career. But I edit everything on my phone. I film everything on my phone. I learned how to like impose clips of things within a video and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I just learned by looking on YouTube, and there's a lot of really great resources there that teach you how to make some of these videos. And then just watching a lot of other people's content, seeing different things that they do and figuring out, okay, how can I make this work for my own channel?
Amazing. I'm amazed. It's Hispanic Heritage Month, and I'm like, yes, I've heard so many good things.
Thank you. But yeah, it was the same with Instagram. Like I'm learning how to use hashtags effectively, and I just made my Instagram public, which was a little bit scary because it's been private for 10 years, and I've restarted my Twitter. Like I quit Twitter back in 2013 because I was like, I can't do this thing. But now I'm like, if I'm gonna do this, if I'm gonna be a content creator and an author, like I need to have all these channels open. So I want to make sure I do it the right way.
Yeah, I've been trying to get back in Twitter. I make like an account for a week and then I'm like, I'm over it. I'm done.
I know.
God, it didn't occur to me that Twitter, like Instagram and Twitter and all of these things have been open for a while. Oh, gosh.
And I look at some stuff and I'm like, I still have my Tumblr as well, which is super embarrassing, but I'm just like, that is old school stuff right there.
Oh no, I think I know a couple authors that are still actively using their Tumblrs. Be like going through the fandoms and in their own personal fandoms to be like, hi, I see you.
Oh, that's such a good idea. I love that.
I think it was like John Green or something. I don't want to quote that though. I don't want to say if that's not true. I just know one of them was like, I see what you guys are doing.
Oh my
Don't
God. That's
pretend like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like a dream of mine that when I'm a famous author, I'm going to go through my own fandom and stalk all of my fans and be like, what are you doing?
I didn't know that was a dream of mine until you said it. And now 100%.
It's like
That's the goal.
Yourself. Like, you just want to know if you're relevant. Like, it's exciting. Sure. I feel like you're going to like make it real far because you have all of these platforms in so many different ways and so many different connections, especially like your kids, like your own kids, and then like your students and 8th graders. I remember being an 8th grade, and if I knew anything about my teacher and their lives, I would be like, okay, but guess what my teacher does? It's like, she does this, and it's really cool. Like, I do that to my college professors.
Oh, that's so
They
cute.
published a book. Please read this thing.
That's so sweet. Yeah. I love 8th graders. My 10th year in teaching, and 8th grade is by far my favorite grade to teach, and they're really fun. Yeah, I'm hoping all of this craziness I'm doing right now pays off, because I do feel kind of crazy sometimes.
I mean, I think you're going to do amazing. I can't wait to see your books come out, and whatever you do, I am going to look for these chapbooks you just showed me. Like, I'm going to look for these and read these. I need to know the poetry process. I'm trying to do stuff.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And once again, you can give us your social media names, so that way our followers can follow you, and then we should be all set with this interview.
Awesome. Yeah, so you can find me on all social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Goodreads as @ShellyFlowers. You can also find me on YouTube, Shelly Flowers Reads and Writes. I post content about reading and writing and teaching. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So thank you, Michelle, for meeting with me. I enjoyed this wholeheartedly. I love meeting new writers. It's such a fun time. And I hope you enjoyed this.
Yay, thank you. Yes, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you again for meeting with us. And I hope everyone in our little Yes Mija family enjoys it too.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.